This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog, coming to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations. This is number 47. So, I've been waiting a while for the Public Library of Skokie to give me the movies that I have on hold for a while, and I've been waiting on Interloan DVDs to come in. So, I said, well, I don't have any, so I watched the movie Capone, and I'm saying to myself, okay, 85 minutes. First thing, it's not 85 minutes, it's an hour and 40-something minutes, almost an hour and 50-something minutes. You're like, okay, that's a negative. And Tom Hardy, with all the makeup and all the other crap that he's got to go through and stuff, and, you know, the fact that they said, let's just focus on 1 year of his life, like at the end, with dementia, and having all these other mental problems, all these physical ailments, and he looks like junk, overweight. It's like, okay, fine, you do it, but when it just drags on and on, there's not a lot of action going on, and Matt Dillon, you're like, cool, Matt Dillon may say the movie. Nah, his character's an imaginary person, and I'm sorry to ruin it, it's not good. And then, the woman who played his wife, Linda Cardellini, I think I've seen her in all these Irish mobster Italian movies, you know, not Irish, but Italian mobster movies, and it was like, okay, seen her before. Noel Fisher I've seen before, and Kyle MacLachlan has also, you know, been in things. I just saw him, he was just in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he was just in Carol's Second Act. Like, I'm like, okay, at least I've seen these guys before, but overall, do not waste your time on this movie. Then I went to watching a movie off the streaming on Netflix called Ghost of War. And I was like, cool, cool, cool. We got Skylar Austin, who I'm a huge fan of from Pitch Perfect and Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and the guy who played Aquaman in Smallville, and he was also in the TMNT movies, Alan Richardson. You're like, I've seen this guy before. That's really, really cool. He was Raphael. Then I see this guy named Theo Rossi, who I've seen him before in things. Then you had Kyle Gallner, who I've seen in things, and you're like, cool. And then there's Brenton Thwaites, who also been in things I've seen before, and Billy Zane. And you're like, cool. It's a World War II film. 5 of the soldiers are watching over this castle the Nazis used to own, and there's all this, you know, stuff in there. And they relieve the other crew, and you're like, okay, so it's about them saying, what's wrong about living in this huge mansion with all this food and all this accommodations and things like that? Because it's a huge manor. What it turns out to be is they don't realize that it's like haunted, and they're seeing all like the ghosts and all these other things, but then they gotta fight off the Germans. You're like, cool, cool, cool. Fight off the Germans. These ghosts and spirits are haunting the house, so it's a little bit supernatural. And you're like, okay, cool. You're familiar with pretty much all the actors in the movie that are those people, and you're like, cool, cool, cool. But then you start learning, oh, the Nazis killed the people, that's why they're haunting the house. And then you're like, okay, so the movie is about 90 minutes. But then the movie all of a sudden takes a weird turn where one of the main guys wakes up and realizes he's in a simulation, and it's not World War II. They were soldiers in Afghanistan, and a thing blew up and stuff. And Billy Zane's one of the scientists, and I'm just like, okay, that took a weird turn, and it just made the movie far from being a below-average movie to being a really crappy movie, because it just was like, okay, it's just not good. So I don't know why they added that other thing. They could have just ended it the way they did. Then I watched another movie called Wish Upon a Unicorn. It's, you know, a cheesy kids movie where again, I've seen this children movie where one parent dies tragically years ago, and it's a single parent, and this time it's a father. It takes him to the mother's, you know, the grandmother's farm. You know, she's kind of kooky, can't remember stuff, and it's the, you know, her daughter's kids come to visit her, and there's some ranch in Montana, and they're supposedly from Chicago, and they gotta adjust to a new school and working on a farm, blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's really coincidental that the mother had a unicorn and the kids found a unicorn, and they realize all the good it does. But then there's some weird, you know, typical bad guy trying to steal the unicorn for himself and ropes in other people, and it's all about them trying to, you know, save the unicorn and get it back to its family. And you're like, okay, cool kid movie. And then you're like, wait, is he wearing glasses and a nice shirt and he's a father? It's John LaJoie from the League, like Taco, the weird dumb idiot who wore that like huge like Muppet looking outfit and stuff, and sing songs about being high and stuff. And it's like, this guy is playing a father in a kids movie. You're like, okay, that's what he's up to now. But yeah, pretty much it was okay. It was pretty simple. Bad guy attacks. They save the day. End of story. It was like, kids can watch it. They'll like it. The kids will fall for it. Then I watched a Woody Allen movie, and he's been hit or miss this past decade. And it was A Rainy Day in New York. And you're like, Timothée Chalamet, he's up and coming. in terms of he's popular now. Dakota Fanning's younger sister, Ellie Fanning, she's popular now. Selena Gomez, Disney star, popular. Jude Law, Diego Luna, Lee Schreiber, veteran actors. And you're like, okay, cool. And it's also 90-something minutes. And it's basically Timothy Chalamet and Ellie Fanning relationship and all the troubles are. And she's a reporter. And Jude Law, Diego Luna, Lee Schreiber, try to, flirt with her, all these other things. Selena Gomez is like Timothy Chalamet's ex-girlfriend's sister. It's kind of cheesy because, too coincidental running into them because they go to school in like upstate New York and they're there in the actual city and his parents are, really rich people and he doesn't want anything to do with them, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like the whole idea is the two of them are on an adventure and it involves him eventually getting with his ex-girlfriend's sister and it's a rainy day and everything's raining and stuff. And it's just like, sorry, Woody Allen, it was not a good movie. Then I watched another kid's movie because I need something to watch something called Upside Down Magic, where like Harry Potter, people got powers or they do magic and stuff. And if I were a parent, I send my kid to the school, and they got the humongous campus with all the high level classes and the big dorm rooms and stuff. But then you find out your kid is sent to work to do classes in the basement and not to practice magic, and they live in a bunk beds in in the woods or something, because supposedly this uptight fat white lady goes, if your magic is off and you cannot control it, you gotta go in the basement. You gotta live in a crappy accommodation. So the movie is about the main girl not being able to do her powers correctly, and they send her with the rest of the kids who have problems with their powers, and they're all with this dude who also had issues with his powers, and he's in charge of them. And they're the upside down magic kids, and then they're like the bad spirits will only take over upside down kids, not the regular kids. And guess what? Sorry to spoil it, but it affected the kids with the real powers, and they got to try to save the day. The kids who are upside down magic, and it was pretty good because then they changed the way the school is. Everybody can hang out with whoever they want. It doesn't have to be only the people in the same place hang out with each other. And it was a good overall kids movie with lessons and stuff. Yeah, so like Wishbone of Unicorns, kids should watch it. Overall, it's just not a great movie. Then I watched Sniper, Assassin's End with a guy named Chad Michael Collins and a guy named Tom Berninger. And you're like, looks like a dude who would be in a typical action movie where he's former military, special ops. He's got all these skills. His father used to be in the military. And then you're like, let's throw in he gets framed for murder and more deaths and all this other stuff. And there's an assassin from the Yakuza trying to get him. And the Russians are trying to kill him, and the CIA and everybody's after him, and the only person he can turn to is his father. And you're like, that's interesting. And the whole movie is him trying to tell people he doesn't. And then there's somebody who's trying to actually clear his name, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay. So I'd never heard of Chad Michael Collins, and I've never heard of this Tom Berninger or the people that are trying to kill him. But what I did hear was, I seen Ryan Robbins, who just recently played Archie's uncle in Riverdale, and he's also a father in the show Astronauts. Then you got Lachlan Morano, who just finished playing Betty's father, the Black Hood, in the movie, and he's like the CIA guy trying to look into it, while Ryan Robbins is playing the guy that's trying to clear the guy's name. Then there are women who are working for them and trying to help them and stuff, and both of them I've seen in other things, and I'm guessing this was like filmed in Canada, because Robbins and Morano, I've seen him in a lot of movies, Emily Tennant, and there's just a couple of people in this movie where like, I've seen them before, and you're like, okay, cool, because I don't really know the main people, but I guess the people that have done on CW shows, exactly who they are and stuff like that. So it was what you expect, a cheesy action movie, where you're just like, okay, whatever. The real best movie I watched this week, no kids movie, not cheesy action, not cheesy romance, not cheesy kids movie, was the movie Resistance, where Ed Harris is barely a movie, but it's about Jesse Eisenberg. He plays this world-famous mime, Marcel, who was called Marcel Mengele. He was an aspiring Jewish actor who joined the French Resistance. So basically, his brother's a part of it, and they're in France, and basically, his brother's part of the people that, like, take orphans, and he was, like, just entertaining them. And the girl he wanted to marry is there. And pretty much the whole entire movie is he realized he got to join the resistance. He's got to fight back against the Nazis. And he's got to save all these orphans from all the places that kids have been orphaned. And sneak them into the Swiss cell. So the whole movie is about him realizing, you don't have to be only about yourself. And he's trying to get all these people, to where they're supposed to be. despite all the things that happened to the people going on. And yeah, it's an hour 20 minutes, but it's like a historical movie based off a true story. And it was a very good story to learn about this guy who saved lots and lots of orphans and all these other things. And Jesse Eisenberg did a very good job. He's usually known in these like quirky comedies, but like I could say, this is a really good movie. They're interesting and historical movie. Sniper Assassin's Zen if you want to watch a typical action movie. If you want to watch Upside Down Magic or Wish Upon a Unicorn for a typical cheesy kids movie. If you're just a dire fan of Woody Allen or like all the actors in the movie, want a cheesy romance movie. And then if you want to watch two bad movies, don't watch Capone and don't watch Ghost of War. Thanks for listening to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations number 47 for On the Radar Tape Blog. See you guys next time.